I always thought I had a great life, a stable job, a loving wife, and a routine that felt secure. Sure, it wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Emma and I had been together for over 10 years, navigating the ups and downs like any couple. Never did I imagine that one night would change everything. That evening started like any other. I came home exhausted from work, expecting nothing out of the ordinary. But as soon as I stepped inside, I noticed Emma's suitcase sitting by the front door. My stomach twisted. She looked up from her phone, her expression distant, cold. So different from the woman I once knew. "Where you headed?" I asked, trying to sound casual despite the unease creeping in. She didn't hesitate. "I'm leaving." Her voice was blunt, emotionless. "I'm done with this. I found someone else." For a moment, everything stopped. My mind struggled to process her words. "What are you talking about?" I asked, grasping for any explanation that made sense. Then she said it, the words that shattered everything. "Go to hell, you old clumsy loser. I have a young lover now, and I'm leaving you. You're nothing but a burden to me." I stood frozen. The air seemed to thicken, trapping me in a moment I couldn't escape. She barely looked at me, already shifting her focus back to her phone, as if our life together had been nothing more than an inconvenience. The days that followed were miserable. Emma moved out with alarming speed, as if she had been planning this for months. No argument, no remorse, just a swift exit. I reached out, desperate for answers, but she ignored every call, every message. The silence was deafening. At first, I had no proof of her affair, but deep down I knew. The way she had spoken, the finality in her words. It wasn't a heat-of-the-moment decision. She had already moved on. I wasn't ready to accept that. I needed to know how long she had been deceiving me. Determined, I started digging. Social media led me to the truth. Photos tagged locations, and interactions revealed the man she had been seeing. Daniel, younger, full of the excitement she had grown bored of in me. Their messages left no doubt. It wasn't just an affair. It was a carefully constructed betrayal. The realization hit me like a hammer. This wasn't just infidelity. She had lied, manipulated, and discarded me as if I were nothing. The pain morphed into something else. Anger, but also clarity. For weeks, I sat in the void she had left behind, drowning in humiliation and resentment. But then, something changed. I refused to let this define me. I wasn't going to let her destroy everything I had built while she walked away unscathed. I needed control, and I knew exactly where to start. Emma was an executive at a well-known firm. What she didn't know was that I had knowledge of her business dealings. Secrets she thought were buried. I reached out to an old friend, someone with the right skills to help me uncover more. Over the next few weeks, I gathered evidence. Corporate fraud, embezzlement, unethical practices. Emma had built her career on deception, just like she had built our marriage. It was time for her world to crumble. Anonymously, I sent the information to her superiors. I made sure there was enough evidence to spark an internal investigation. I covered my tracks. There was no way to trace it back to me. The fallout was swift. Her reputation, her career, the life she had so carefully crafted, it all began to collapse. She tried to keep it together, but I saw the cracks forming. The stress, the desperation. It was all catching up to her. And then, the final blow, Daniel. He had no interest in standing by a woman whose career was in flames. What once seemed like an exciting escape turned into a burden. He left her just as easily as she had left me. Emma was alone. The silence she had once weaponized against me became her prison. I had taken back my power. I wasn't the fool she had assumed I was. And in the end, she paid the price for underestimating me. The beginning was only a taste of what I had planned for her. I wanted to see her lose it all. The first few weeks were excruciating, watching Emma go through the motions of her life, while I had already set the wheels in motion to dismantle everything she held dear. The investigation into her business dealings was the first domino to fall. Her once untouchable position at the company now bore a target. Emma had always prided herself on her career, on the power she had built over the years. But now all of that was under scrutiny. The whispers behind her back grew louder, as colleagues speculated about the allegations she faced. It wasn't long before her superior, once one of her closest allies, began to distance themselves from her. But I wasn't done yet. The second piece of the puzzle was already in place: the public exposure of her affair. Emma believed she could keep it hidden, a secret under her control, but she never realized the person she had discarded was the one pulling the strings. I reached out to Daniel's fiancée. From the very start, this had been personal. If Emma thought she could get away with this, she was sorely mistaken. I shared everything: texts, photos, even hotel bookings. Daniel's fiancée deserved to know the truth, especially since Emma had led her to believe they were merely work colleagues. The fallout was immediate. I watched as Daniel's relationship crumbled, his fiancée confronting him with undeniable proof. By the time word spread to Emma's circle, her own relationship with Daniel had begun to disintegrate. Emma had been played in every possible way. She had always prided herself on being in control, yet now she was the one losing everything: her career, her lover, and her reputation. And this was just the beginning. Weeks later, I ran into Emma at a coffee shop. Her eyes were dark, exhaustion etched into her features. She looked lost, like a woman who no longer had control over her own life. "David, please," she said, desperation in her voice. "I know I made mistakes, but it's not too late. I'm sorry for what I did to you. I didn't know what I wanted. I never meant to hurt you." I looked at her, the woman who had so easily betrayed me, and felt a strange mix of emotions. Anger, yes, but something else, too. Something I had been denying myself for too long. Satisfaction. "You made a choice, Emma," I said, my voice cold controlled. "You chose him over everything we had. You destroyed us. Now you get to live with the consequences." Her face crumpled with guilt. The tears that fell weren't for me. They were for herself, for the life she had thrown away, for the image she had built and now had to watch burn. But it wasn't over. Not yet. It was time for the final step: the total destruction of Emma's world. Now completely vulnerable, with her relationship over, her affair exposed, and her career in ruins, she was left with nothing to hold on to. I made sure the right people saw the evidence I had gathered, the photos, the emails, the proof of her deception. But I didn't stop there. I used her own insecurities against her, reaching out to her family and closest friends, ensuring they knew exactly what kind of person she had become. This wasn't just about the affair or her business dealings. It was about making her confront the truth, that she had destroyed everything, and now she had to face the consequences. When the final piece of my plan fell into place, it was devastating. Emma was left alone, without the lover who had once promised her a fresh start, without the job that had defined her identity, and without the friends who had once stood by her. She had nothing. Months passed, and as the dust settled, Emma and Daniel were left to pick up the pieces of their broken lives. I watched from the sidelines, knowing justice had been served. They had made their bed, and now they had to lie in it. One day, Emma reached out again. This time, there was no anger, no bitterness in her voice, only resignation. "David," she said, her voice trembling, "I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that I've learned my lesson. I've lost everything, and it's my fault. I was selfish, and I ruined what we had." I said nothing. There was nothing left to say. The woman I once loved had already destroyed herself. And though the pain still lingered, I realized I didn't need her apology. The revenge I had set in motion had already given me the closure I needed. In the end, I didn't find satisfaction in watching Emma's life fall apart. The real satisfaction came from knowing I had reclaimed control over my own life. Revenge isn't just about making others suffer. It's about restoring your own peace, reclaiming the power that was taken from you, and realizing that forgiveness isn't always necessary. Sometimes, the best revenge is letting them face the consequences of their own actions, without ever lifting a finger. Betrayal may shake you to your core, but the one thing no one can take from you is your ability to rebuild. And when you choose to rise above the pain, the world can no longer touch you.